We are in Proverbs chapter 5. We're going to finish up the chapter today. And Pastor was in last week, so I made sure to thank him for that. And looks like he took the tougher portion of the chapter. And but we're going to finish it up, and there's some good truths in here that are helpful, not only for your teen years, but really for the rest of your life. So we'll jump into those. So we are going to finish up in chapter 5, starting in verse 15 through verse 23. And so why don't we, as we normally do, we'll just read the verses that we have. Esther, you start in verse 15, and John, you can take 16, and we'll go around.
Drink waters out of thine own cistern, and running waters out of thine own well.
You have it written down. Oh, I have it written down.
Verse 16, John.
Oh, I have it written down. Let thy fountains be dispersed abroad, and rivers of water in the streets.
Let them be always down, and not strangers with thee.
Let thy fountain be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of thy youth.
Let her be as the loving hind and pleasant roe. Let her breast satisfy thee at all times, and be thou ravished always with her love.
And why wilt thou, my son, be ravished with a strange woman, and embrace the bosom of a stranger?
Verse
21.
For the ways of the man are before the eyes of the Lord, and he pondereth all his goings.
His own iniquity shall take the wicked himself, and he shall be holden with the cords of pursuits.
He shall die without instruction, and in the greatness of his folly he shall go astray.
All right. So this whole chapter is about the folly of immorality, but it's not just about immorality. It also talks about the importance and the sanctity of marriage and intimacy within marriage. And I was telling Pastor when he was telling me on Sunday night how the class went, and well, first of all, he said it went well. So I applaud a group of teens for handling this topic well, because I know sometimes you silly teens can have a tendency to laugh at this sort of thing.
Oh, like a book.
Yes, but no, it's an important topic, especially for those of you at your age now, because it's important to understand the truth prior to being put in a situation where you need to practice some of this truth and understanding what God has said. And so I was telling Pastor when I was a kid, and you'll have these conversations with your parents when you're older too, but I was probably, I don't know, in my mid-20s. I was already married at this point, and I was at my parents' house, and we were talking, me and all my sisters, about things that my parents said or did when we were kids. And now looking back in retrospect, we understand what they were trying to do, but we're sharing with them how we actually perceived it. So when I was a kid, we'd be sitting down or something watching Family as a TV, or TV as a family, rather, not Family as a TV. And if something came up on the television that was like even remotely questionable, it had a sexual situation involved, my mom would either like immediately grab the remote and she would turn it off or fast forward, or sometimes she would even, if she was close enough, she would jump up off the couch, run in front of the TV and cover it. And if you knew my mom, this would be more funny, but she'd be like, oh, and doing more of these. And we were telling her, or at least I was, as a kid, and then being an adult, I understood what she was trying to do. She was trying to protect us, help us to not see things that weren't appropriate for us at that age. But in my little mind, I was interpreting it, and I was like, oh man, well, sex in all parts of life is bad. It's bad. And that's not how she intended it. It just wasn't appropriate in that situation. And what this chapter in Proverbs is describing and helping us to understand is when it's appropriate, and if we engage in it when it is not appropriate, how God set it up, what can eventually happen. So in verse 15, let's read verses 15 and 16. Somebody volunteered to read those together. We're going to see some of what are the good things that come out of it.
Drink waters out of thine own cistern, and running waters out of thine own well. Let thy fountains be dispersed abroad, and rivers of water in the streets.
All right, so in verses 15 and 16, Solomon is counseling his son. And he's telling his son to find all of that intimate sexual satisfaction with his own wife. That's what he's talking about, out of thine own cistern, out of thine own well. He's saying, hey, listen, don't go elsewhere. You've got a wife, you've got somebody, and ladies, let's put it in reverse. Ladies, you've got your own husband that is meant, you two are meant to satisfy